It's the Elsa Kurt Show with Clay Novak. Conservative views on world news. Brought to you by the Wellness Company. Prepare for the unexpected. And Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
Well, hey there. How is it going?
It's going well. It's going good for me and you.
Yes.
There's a lot of people in the Southeast that it is not going well for. And, we're hoping and praying for those in the Carolinas and obviously, Milton's about to hit Florida. So it's not going great for them. But we're going to talk about both of those. And let's see what else. Oh, we promised Diddy. We're going to talk about Diddy this week.
Talk about Diddy. That's right.
Kamala on the interview.
Kamala?
On the interview trail. So we got a packed show for you, and we will be back right after this.
Wow, we got a lot to talk about, like you said. We'll dive right into the hurricane stuff. So we're still dealing, not we, you and I personally, but so many are dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. And of course, like you said, we've got Milton right on its heels. And there's a lot to talk about with Helene. I mean, there's, first of all, we've got, I'm looking for my images here. The images, if you haven't seen them, I'm sure you have, they're just, absolutely devastating, heartbreaking to look at, and to, realize that this is people's reality right now. Just breaks your heart that they're dealing with this. And of course, lots of controversy over the federal aid part of that. And, on the upside, always with these things, I think we touched on it a little bit last week, that when things like this happen, natural disasters, any type of, critical crisis that goes on, the one thing that still holds true, no matter how crazy our world is that people come together to help. And people from all across the country are just physically, literally helping, getting out there, getting supplies out there, getting things out there, and donating. And, as much as I'm not a fan of the celebrities and all of those things, there's a couple bright spots there. Let's see, Jason Aldean, just handed over a check for, I think it was, I can't read it. So I think it's $500,000, $500,000.
$500,000 it looks
right?
like, yep.
Wrote a check and just said, here you go, and did that. And then there's a country music star, Luke Combs, is going to be hosting a benefit concert for them. That's going to be, I think, October 26th, I think is the date of that one. And so many other people. And of course, we talked about last week, President Trump created that GoFundMe, I think was over 6 million, almost 7 million. So then with Aldean's contribution, put him well over $7 million in aid. Talk to me what you're hearing about the federal aid part of all of this.
Yeah. So before we get too far, we the show, the Elsa Show with Clay Novak, last week, as this show dropped on YouTube, and for those of you that watch every week and listen, Elsa and I say this: we record before it drops. I know on YouTube it says live in the corner, but that just means it's the first time that it's coming out. It's a live release, but it is not a live recording. I always watch, and I have my phone, right? I watch it. I put it on my smart TV, and I watch the comments on my phone, which I love. We have great listeners and viewers who really get involved and have great conversation. But last week there were a few people who were upset because it wasn't an actual live broadcast because they wanted to talk to somebody. And Elsa, you and I have said, it's me and you. Like, we don't have a staff. We don't have camera people. There's nobody. Like, if you and I were answering comments on YouTube, we would be doing it as we're talking because there's nobody else.
Yeah. Yes, there is nobody, helping us with all of this stuff and things. And that's not a complaint. It's just a simple fact. Yeah, it's just reality. It's just how it is. And listen, if there's a producer out there, if there's a platform out there that would like to produce for us, and so we can just do this part of it, we are receptive to that conversation, guys. Yeah, we will not turn down that conversation.
Please contact us. But, so for clarity, right now, as we're recording, it is 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Okay. So anything that happens, So, and we'll get to Milton in a minute, but Milton hasn't made landfall. So there's your point of context.
Yes, there you go.
Let's get back. Okay, so we cleared that up. Let's get back to Helene.
Yes. So the federal response, there's been a tremendous amount of criticism as to the response. Of course, FEMA has been, top of mind, as they like to say, because they are out of money for relief. And of course, it's because they directed all of that money to the migrants. And I'm sorry, I can't do that. The illegal aliens infiltrating our country with permission from our federal government. And they of course deny that. And then your favorite, Karine, what do you call her?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yes, there you go. Yes. She vehemently denied that this was the case. And of course, there's a video.
No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. Funding is also available through FEMA's Emergency Food and Shelter Program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
The penalty that she suffered for such an egregious lie is that she was promoted.
Yeah.
So congratulations to her on failing up. That is a tremendous feat to accomplish.
It's par for the course with the administration. So she's completely unqualified to be senior advisor to the president, because if you look at her bio, all she has ever done is public relations.
Right.
That's it.
Reality is they just needed to get her out of that spot.
It's exactly right. Especially after she walked out on Peter Doocy.
Walked out.
Yeah. He was pressing her on this. He was pressing her on this very topic.
Yeah.
And she got so irritated. And I think I had a feeling that either this was the final straw that got her promoted out of the job, or she already knew she was getting promoted out of the job, and she just heard, give a crap meter broke, and she just said screw it and walked out.
Yeah. Either is perfectly believable.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so here's the issue: is there is a ton of inaccurate information going on out there. Everything from, in the earliest of days, there were people posting on social media that FEMA was interfering so bad that a local FEMA director got beaten by just regular citizens. Patently false. There's a lot of extreme cases. I saw something today that I cannot even believe I saw on social media, and that says a lot, because social media is what it is.
Yes.
This was a reposting of an Instagram post that said, I just heard from a friend who's a former Marine sniper, and he's got 4 confirmed kills of FEMA agents in Western North Carolina. That's the level of stupidity that's happening on social media.
Oh my goodness.
Which is the problem is that there are so many other really bad things going on,
right,
that we're all getting a skewed perspective. There is plenty of evidence of FEMA failure, right? Not showing up on time. There's plenty of evidence of shipments of goods being confiscated, deterred, derailed, pushed off the road, taken control of by state agencies and FEMA. Interference by federal agents. There's all kinds of evidence of that. It's getting drowned out by the really stupid stuff. And I'll admit there's 2 or 3 cases where you've seen military Black Hawk helicopters. I don't know if you've seen these. They come in, and if you're under one of those things and they're down to 150 feet, the rotor wash is brutal, right? It blows everything. And inexperienced pilots have come in and gotten too close to some of these supply points, so they've blown supplies and crap all over the place.
Yeah, I saw that video.
I will admit I got caught in a little bit of a dupe. Those aircraft, sometimes the markings are very, very hard to see. I saw a version of that got modified where the markings were actually removed from the helicopter.
So
you've got military Black Hawk type helicopters flying. And somebody has altered the video where the markings have been removed. Now, did the pilot screw up? Sure, the pilot screwed up, but it's since been, my initial reaction was, if it's got no markings, it's got to be some sort of private military contractor. They're the only ones who own those things. And in reality, it had been a modified video of a National Guard helicopter. The aircraft has been identified. The pilot has been identified.
Wow.
So people are not, as bad as the situation is, and it is bad. the people are not helping with these sorts of, things going across social media.
Yeah, it's not helping at all. And it's so frustrating that people pull this kind of crap. Like, the facts are enough. The reality is more than enough. I mean, you're talking about, the devastation from this. It's left a 500-mile path of destruction throughout Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Tennessee. There are, as of Monday, this could have increased, probably has increased, unfortunately. They're saying over 232 people have died, and there are still hundreds of people that are lost or still unaccounted for. That alone, like hundreds of people in the United States of America unaccounted for after a natural catastrophe. And I know there's dispute over whether that was a natural catastrophe. Now, I can't even address that part of it, because they're talking about the cloud seeding and the controlling the weather and all that. I'm not even mentally prepared to go there yet. Maybe that's a topic for another day. I actually would like to know your thoughts on that, but we can't do it. Can't do it today, guys. Yeah.
It's it is. There's enough evidence out there. We don't need nothing needs to be fabricated. There's plenty of damning evidence out there of the ineptitude of FEMA, the federal agencies, federal organizations that are supposed to be helping. They finally got the military in there, which is great. They always bring assets that, truthfully civilians don't have, in a lot of cases. The vast amount of aircraft to get to places, the number of people to get to places that you can't get to. I know there's been a lot of, I've seen tons of it. Former special operations guys, the Carolinas, with former Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty, being the home of the 82nd, a lot of the Special Forces schoolhouses there, the Special Forces units, Army Delta Forces there. There's a lot of former special operators that live in the Carolinas, a lot of them. And so these guys have somewhat come out of the woodwork. They've taken control in a lot of places. They've also done some really heroic stuff. I'm talking like jump off one skid of the helicopter onto a mountainside to go check a house to see if there's any survivors in there. Like they're doing those kind of heroic things. Because the federal government has taken too long to respond. They would do it, but they wouldn't have to be doing it if the federal government was prepared. And lots
of reports too, of civilians taking action, flying private helicopters in, doing all these private missions. And, lots of also reports of the federal government turning them away with penalty of being arrested, or threat of being arrested, so a lot of things out there that it's disturbing. There's all the amazing, wonderful parts of people doing, just stepping up and doing what needs to be done. Then there's that other side of it. And at the end of the day, it keeps coming down to the same thing, that anyone with eyes is looking at this administration and saying, wow, could you screw up any worse? And of course, falling right on Kamala's head. Yeah,
it is. And we'll that all really kind of came to a head. We'll talk about Milton in a minute, but so there's a guy named David Axelrod. I don't know if you know who he is. He is he's a Democrat strategist, right? Okay. And he's been around for a long time. So he started in Chicago in the 70s, right? Has worked for Senator Paul Simon from Illinois. He worked for a couple of Chicago mayors. He worked, for Hillary, and he worked for President Obama, and he worked his list of clientele is a veritable who's who of liberal, Democrat politicians. Oh, by the way, has also done work advising elections or campaigns in Canada, Italy, and the UK. Right. So if it's blue and it's politics, this guy is in the know. Okay. So a couple of years ago, he started a podcast, as people do. Right. And he just said the other day, and I wrote a blog about this, but he just said the other day that the people in Asheville are a kind of a liberal, upscale, well-to-do class of people, and they will find a way to vote. The people in the mountains who are, hard up right now. I mean, their lives are ruined. They're also, financially a little bit more challenged, kind of thing. And he basically separated the two into classes: liberal, upscale, educated, wealthy, and, mountain conservative, poor people kind of thing. And he said, the people in Asheville are going to find a way to vote. The people in the mountains probably aren't. And so all the interpretation of that is that is why you're not seeing help from the federal government. keep in mind who said it. This guy is a Democrat. He is in the know. That guy is in every inner circle that you can imagine. And he's saying that out loud. I didn't say this. You didn't say it. That guy said it, David Axelrod. And if he said it, there is some truth behind that.
Right. That's extremely telling. Extremely telling. And of course, everybody watching and listening is going, yeah, well, no, duh. But the point being here is who said it, like you said. Who just said that? We can say until we're blue in the face. And of course, anyone on the left is going to say, oh, you're just conspiracy theorists. You're crazy. Excuse us.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
The guy on the inside. I mean, he really is the guy on the inside. And he said it out loud. So that's very, very telling, in how all of this is being handled and managed. Interestingly, though, we've got two very different points of view from the White House and from the Harris campaign, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And it'll roll. We'll roll this right into Milton, but the president is saying one thing. I'm in contact with these people. I'm talking to these people. I'm doing these things. And if you've seen it, there was a little bit of a spat where Vice President Harris said she tried to call Governor DeSantis in Florida. And he wouldn't take her call.
Yes.
And did you see him on Hannity?
Oh, he's so good. So I'll backtrack just a tiny bit. And, here's what she had to say. Resources
and help. How does that hurt the situation here? Moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader, because they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now. And playing political games at this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations. This is utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
So that's what she had to say. This is, the major component of this little firestorm that went on. Here is so. In addition to this, Biden, as we said, Biden is just taking a knife, putting it in and giving it a twist. So the man has found some lucid moments here, apparently, and he is throwing her under the bus multiple times. Whether, there's argument over if he knows he's doing it or not.
Yeah. What do you think?
I definitely think he is doing it deliberately.
It's on purpose.
Oh, I definitely think so. If I'm wrong, I'm fine with being wrong, but I 100% think it is totally deliberate. They must have got him on some good meds. Get him, the wife must have got him on something good to give those.
I think it's her.
Yeah. It's her.
Jill. I really
He's looking for her opportunity to, throw some shots here and do a little sabotage. And so here's him. Maybe not.
The governor of Florida has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs. I talked to him again yesterday, and I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my personal phone number to call.
So that's just a day apart. Her and then him making that statement. And in the meantime, DeSantis, of course, who is, in my opinion, pretty much always just on point and on fire. He, of course, slammed her for trying to play political games. And of course, then there's the back and forth. You're playing political games. No, you're playing. Well, we all know it's Kamala playing political games. He's just trying to, help his state. So his exact quote here, he says, I didn't know that she had called, so I'm not sure who they called. They didn't call me, and their characterization of it was something that they did. It wasn't anything that anybody in my office did in terms of saying that it was political. Then he says that the notion that he was selfish for focusing on the state of Florida was delusional. And then he goes on to say she has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this. She has no role in this process. I mean, he just eviscerated her.
Yeah, that was as truthfully as clear and as deliberate as you could get.
Yes.
And 100% correct.
Yeah.
All of it.
Absolutely. And yeah. And I mean, he's like, who does she think she is? She's not the president. If she's the president, that's one thing. You got no part in this. Go in your corner. Shut up.
Yep. And that's basically what he said. And he's right. As the vice president, unless delegated from the president, she has no responsibility or role in this, which clearly he has not, because he, the president Biden, spoke to Governor DeSantis himself. Yeah. Right. She's not in the middle of this. She's trying to insert herself in the middle of this, right?
And she got smacked down.
Yeah. She dropped the ball in the Carolinas and in Georgia, right? Day after Helene hit, who's on the ground? President Trump walking around, sees what's going on, writes the check, brings in fuel and all kinds of stuff with him. She missed it, blew it, right? She was off doing a presser somewhere.
Oh, you know what she was off doing, Clay? She was very, very busy doing a very important podcast called Call Her Daddy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Here we have a little clip of this, and let me preface it by saying that she chose to do this interview on this podcast, which is primarily about sex, essentially, is what the whole thing is about. And she decides to do this video in the middle. You remember all those pictures I just showed you? While all of this is happening, she thought to herself, this is a good idea. And here's what she had to say.
Well, I think you and your listeners have really got this thing right, which is one of the best ways to communicate with people is to be real, and to talk about the things that people really care about. I mean, what I love about what you do is that your voice and your show is really about your listeners. And I think especially now, this is a moment in the country and in life where people really want to know they're seen and heard and that they're part of a community, that they're not out there alone. And so I'm really glad to be.
These are her words in the middle of a national catastrophe, and people are dead and dying and missing and lost everything that they have. And not getting anything, any hope, really.
The irony of the words is that, people want to be heard and they don't want to be out there alone and they want to be in a community. And that is exactly what was going on as people were being isolated by the right? And a podcast is not doing that, right? Right. In the aftermath of Helene, that's a community, right?
Yeah.
You had all those people coming together, bringing supplies, bringing aircraft, what I mean? Doing all these rescue operations, saving, farm animals and people and pets and all kinds of stuff. That's a community. Podcast, not so much.
No. And she is nowhere to be seen with any of this, except for on a sex show podcast.
So she knows she blew it, right? With Georgia and the Carolinas. So she's trying to get ahead of it with Florida, and she stepped in it, like to try and insert herself in this before it became an issue, and then to try and call out DeSantis because he didn't take her phone call. Like this, she screwed this up so badly.
Monumentally. I mean, if this alone, there's so many things before this that should have done it. If this alone should end her, should completely end her there is no legitimacy, but end her candidacy, end her, run here, because if they pull this off, it is because there is such a huge machine behind her. I mean, we know that there is, but that is inconceivable that any American right now, after all of this, is still saying, yeah, I'll vote for her. You have to be an absolute moron. And I am not sorry for calling you that at all.
It's tough to justify in seeing this, seeing this in real time as it's happening. Yeah. It's tough to justify. And, so again, we're recording this shortly after 1 p.m. Eastern time. Milton has not yet made landfall. And listen, folks, this is Cat 5. This is one of the biggest, if not the biggest storm to hit Florida in history.
Yeah.
As far as winds, scope. I mean, at one point, the eye was 4 miles wide. I mean, this thing is crazy big and dangerous. So it's supposed to make landfall here tonight. And, for all those folks down in Florida, we're praying for you and hoping for the best. If you decided to stay, I'm not faulting anybody's choices, but you decided to stay, right?
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens in the aftermath of this. I know Florida's ready because they do this all the time, right? The trucks are pre-positioned, the supplies are pre-positioned, they're where they need to be, where they're going to be protected, not destroyed by the storm itself. They'll be in quickly. Like this is, and this one's big and it's going to be nasty. And I'm not saying that this is par for the course or old hat for Florida, but it kind of is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, they know this is, this is a reality for them, and they brace for it as best they can. I saw a video just this morning of a woman who's really, it's actually pretty heartbreaking because I'm sure she's representative of a lot of Floridians right now in this situation. And the gist of it was she is in a high risk area. They were told to evacuate. And her response to that is, basically, like, I know you think I'm crazy for staying. I don't want to stay, but I have 6 kids. I have pets. I have all of these things, and where is it that you want me to go? Where do you think I can go? Obviously limited means, probably financially limited means.
Yeah.
Where is it do you think I can go with 6 kids, 4 dogs, this, that, and the other thing, and everything is booked up. Every place is booked solid. Roads, you can't get anywhere. They were at this point, they've been telling people like, you're staying. You don't have a choice. You got to stay where you are. Obviously, airports are closed today. My older daughter was actually supposed to fly into Florida today. That was obviously pre-planned. So that of course was obviously canceled. But yeah, and your heart breaks for these people because it is really easy to say, well, they told you to evacuate, go. And then you think about people like that. I think about my daughter and her family there. They're Central Florida. They're, as safe as you're going to get. Of course, they're going to get plenty of effect from this probably, but they're not in a storm surge area where there's big bodies of water. So that's a relief. Still praying, of course. But yeah, it's like, they have 12 horses and, half a dozen dogs, 3 little kids. I mean,
and oh, by the way, everything north of them has been destroyed.
Yes.
Like, you're going to have to come out of Florida and hang a left, right? You're going to have to go to Alabama. You're going to have to go to, Mississippi and Arkansas because, Georgia's wrecked, right? All of their facilities are booked up. They're hard up on fuel, all of those things. So even if you can get out of Florida, it's
where are you going to go?
Going after that is a problem, So we'll see, like I said, I have no doubt in my mind that the plan by the state of Florida and Governor DeSantis and his entire team is wired as tight as you can get it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the after effect is, and we'll see where the candidates step in and what kind of impact they have. I have no doubt President Trump's response will be very similar to what it was in Georgia. I mean, he's a Florida resident, right? Mar-a-Lago and all that. So, he'll be there. He'll be in the midst of it. He'll pop his head in there. Probably write another big old check, and then Vice President Harris will try to figure out where she fits in because, she's going to insert herself in a place. And listen, as somebody, I was aide de camp for a 3-star general for a year in Afghanistan. And I know from personal experience, the impact of a visit by a VIP, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my boss, he was the second ranking guy in Afghanistan. And when we would go somewhere, we knew that it was a disruption and we tried to minimize the disruption as much as humanly possible. Right. Anytime somebody steps foot into something like this, it's a disruption, right? Yeah. President Trump, he showed it in Georgia. He flew in, he walked around, he wrote the check, he got out of there because he knew he was going to cause more stress on the system, right?
Right.
I don't know if Vice President Harris has that kind of awareness of who she is and what kind of tale she brings with. President Trump has the financial personal means to walk in there, write a check, and walk out.
Right.
She does not.
Nope.
So her benefit as the vice president better be with federal funding, and it better come that day, because otherwise all she is doing is causing stress on the system.
Yep.
So
nobody needs her freaking photo op, for 20 minutes of pretending to be, looking very serious and concerned. Photo over.
And it's not helping. It's not helpful. So, if she's smart, she'll fly in, she'll fly out.
Yeah.
Right. And not try and make it anything bigger than that. She won't bother Governor DeSantis. She won't, try and bring people together and sit around a table. Like, do none of that. Just get in, get your shoes dirty, and get out of the way. Right. Yeah. Yep. But she won't.
She won't. No, she's, her long series of, catastrophic missteps is on full display. Her actions have been so non-presidential that it's like watching your proverbial slow moving train wreck, right? I mean, her inability to articulate in front of a crowd without assistance, without a teleprompter, without a controlled, highly, highly controlled environment has just been put on display a few times. What, do we have the video? Of course we do. Here she is freezing up when her teleprompter freezes up.
Oh.
Remember his number, 32. Today we got 32 days until the election. So 32 days. 32 days. Okay, we got some business to do. All right. 32 days. And we know we will do it. And this is going to be a very tight race until the very end. This is going to be a very tight race until the very end. We are the underdog, and we know we have some hard work ahead. Remember his number, 32.
Yeah. So the moment, I think everybody can see that moment when she does the deep breath, that, you know what she was saying under her breath there.
Oh, yeah.
And all she could come out with 32 days. 32 days. Yeah. 32 days. Yeah. We're at 27 days, people. I think 27 days, I believe.
So that is, I think it's 27. That is no preparation on her part. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Right? You whenever anybody's done any amount of public speaking, teleprompter or not, right? Mm-hmm. Or a form of that, you still have to know the speech.
Yeah.
You still have to know it.
Yeah.
And she clearly walked into that not knowing the message, not knowing the speech, only knowing I got a teleprompter in front of me and read off the teleprompter. And that's it. And so that her lack of flexibility or lack of ability to adjust, as you just showed, right? Or she showed us again, is exactly what will become a hindrance when when she visits Florida after Milton.
Right. And it's baffling to me that she doesn't know, because all she does is repeat the same thing over and over again. So how was she not able to, rebound that quickly and just default, like go to your default? Yeah. Like, I'm not encouraging it, but that's what you would think she would do. It should be easy for her to do, because all she does is regurgitate the same talking points over and over again, right? All you have to say is we're the underdogs, American people, ambitious, and we have character, and I have
businesses and all that stuff. Middle class family people love their lawns. She's just my personal opinion is, and I've said this for a long time, she's just not that smart.
She's really
and everybody will say she's an attorney and she's this and she's that. I don't care, right? She may be able to memorize stuff, and I'm not even sure she can do that,
right?
But I don't think she's really that intelligent, which is a significant problem. So we'll see what happens in the aftermath of Florida. My assessment is Trump's going to come in, he's going to do the hero thing, people are going to love him, and he's going to get out of the way, and she's going to come in and she's going to be in the way, and she's not even going to realize it. But we'll see what happens with all that. Look for all of that. We're expecting Milton to make landfall tonight, Wednesday night, and it'll probably last a good 18 to 24 hours. And I would imagine somewhere on Friday-ish, you'll start to see, people like President Trump tromping around down there.
Yep, definitely. Yep. Our prayers and thoughts are with everyone that is affected and potentially to be affected. And of course, still trying to just recover from Helene right now. Our hearts just absolutely break. And again, we'll reiterate what we said last week. If you are capable of helping, please do so. Whatever your means are, whether it's financial, whether it's, donating goods, if I want to say, if you can get out there to help, do it, but only under the advisement of the, people there. Sometimes it gets overwhelming and confusing. So make sure you're in communication. Don't just show up. The thought is wonderful, but make sure you're in communication with people there and find out what they actually need. And sometimes they tell you, we need you just to don't come over here right now. It's just too much. Obviously we got to keep talking about Kamala for a couple more minutes because, again, the catastrophe train that she is just kept rolling right into, so we already covered some of the interviews. I want to talk for a minute about her 60 Minutes interview. So where I give credit is that they actually did ask her the tough questions.
They did.
Gave her some tough ones.
Yeah.
And what did she do? Fail epically, which is crazy to me because you didn't get any indication what they're going to be asking you. Like, even if they didn't give her the questions in advance, even if they didn't, they had to prep her to say, so here are some of the things they might ask. What are you going to answer? Here's your answer. Fail. And then the next big fail on that really is actually a little bit scandalous, might I say. They changed.
Yeah.
Sir. And we have it. Here it is.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill,
The work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
So give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts first on her actual answer. What did you think of her actual response?
So, I mean, that her actual response shows that she has absolutely no clue about diplomacy. She had no clue about foreign relations, and she certainly doesn't understand global conflict. Like with the ability to articulate what is actually going on. Right. In any way, shape, or form. That was, her classic word salad. She couldn't even circle talk that, because I don't even know if she knew how to do that. And I can promise you, so that was actually shown on air as a teaser before the actual 60 Minutes interview, right? Before 60 Minutes was on the air.
Right.
Then 60 Minutes is on the air, and then you get the second answer. And a whole bunch of GOP watchdog groups were like, whoa, wait a minute.
Whoa. Wait one stinking minute here.
It was exactly what you thought it was. It was, she got done with the first answer and somebody went, that was awful. We need to retape that. So she retaped an answer to the question after having the ability to stop, think about it, probably have somebody tell her what to say.
Right.
And then they showed that. And I don't know who at 60 Minutes didn't sync up the teaser trailer with the show. I don't know if it was on purpose or not. I do know that he followed up a number of times in that interview with basically saying to her, but you didn't answer the question. Or the question was, how are you going to pay for it? And then she would talk and he would go, but we live in reality. That's not how it gets paid for. And that was probably the most attacking interview that she has sat through.
No question about it. And it was probably the intent was probably to show that she can handle the tough questions.
Fail.
Wrong.
Fail.
Yeah, here's one of the nonsensicals and then the follow-up. And it's so uncomfortable in a wonderful way. Here it is.
Was democracy best served by President Biden stepping down and basically handing you a nomination? You didn't have to go through a primary process. You didn't have to fight off other contenders. That's not really the way our system was intended to work.
President Biden made a decision that I think history is going to show is rare among leaders, which was to put country before self. And I am proud to have earned the support of the vast majority of delegates and to have been elected the Democratic nominee. I am proud to have received the endorsement of leaders around this country from every background and walk of life to fight in this election over the next month for our democracy.
But I think this truncated process is why people think or say they don't really know who you are.
Look, I've been in this race for 70 days.
Still didn't answer the question.
Still did not answer the gosh darn question.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm always struck by, and I know this is a pretty frequent conversation, I'm always struck by her pauses in between every sentence, basically. It definitely does not help the whole, earrings as a Bluetooth thing, feeding her responses. It does not help the case at all, because those pauses are so well timed with, okay, now say this. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? It's so bad. It's so bad.
So that's one, right?
Yeah.
She also did, she did Howard Stern.
Oh, right.
She did Stephen Colbert, right? And you get, all of our viewers and listeners know those were exactly what you would assume they would be. Yes. The big one though, and again, not a surprise, but she went on The View. Right. Yeah. She went into the cackling hen house. And she got the softball questions.
Right.
But the one that is the most, her response to, is there anything that you would change about, President Biden over the last 4 years or, and as we've talked about, right, she's trying to she's failing, but she's trying to disassociate herself with the decisions made by President Biden over and over and over again. And given the opportunity to separate herself again, she said, nope, not a single thing. Right. Really? Not even Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Not even that.
Not that. No, you wouldn't do anything different there. And by the way, that reminds me, we have another clip of Biden taking the knife and going in her, and essentially on exactly what we're saying. So here's that.
Talk about how your vice president, who is running for the presidency, has worked on these crises and what role she has played over the past several days.
Well, I'm in constant contact with her. She's aware we're singing from the same song sheet. She helped pass all the laws that are being employed now. She was a major player in everything we've done, including passage of legislation which we were told we could never pass. And so she's been, and her staff is interlocked with mine in terms of all the things we're doing.
Yeah. So, and of course, that's a shot also, as you could hopefully see in the caption above it, a shot at all the people are like, well, she wasn't president. So, you can't blame her for, according to the actual president, yeah, you can, because she was part of it all. So, yeah, I mean, the knife twist. Very impressive.
She said, and this, she said a number of times, I was the last person in the room when those decisions were made. I sat there with President Biden. I was the last person in the room. I gave him that final advice, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then, of course, for a very brief period of time, it was like, oh, yeah, I had nothing to do with that, and all of this. And now she's circled back, as she tends to do, because she can't take a position and stick with it. She circled back to, oh, no, there's nothing. There's nothing I would change. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
And again, there's so many glaring issues from the last 4 years that, given the opportunity, she couldn't articulate anything that she would change. Literally nothing.
Nothing. Not a thing. Fascinating.
She's so she is a manufactured political figure. There's zero substance to who she is.
Right.
She is an absolute puppet, more so than any politician at the federal level that we've seen in my lifetime. 100% manufactured.
Yeah, she is just a plant, and
she's a plant in more ways than one.
Yeah,
she's a plant sitting in a chair, is what she is. She's just completely useless.
Right. Well, you had said, I'm pretty sure it was you had said a little while back in one of our episodes that they hit a point when they realized that she was going to be the one, that they kind of had no choice but to put her in line there. That it was almost like it became a foregone conclusion that they were going to throw this one, like just throw it out, let these 4 years play out, and then come back with a vengeance. And I mean, every single thing that we're seeing seems to really complement that.
Yeah, I mean,
she can't make this craziness up.
Yeah, she's personally putting a fight up. You know what I mean? For lack of. I guess probably she doesn't want to be completely embarrassed.
Right.
I think that's also why they wasted Walz. They didn't pick Shapiro.
Yeah.
Because I think in 2028, you're going to see Shapiro.
Right.
I think he's going to be the Democratic nominee. But so they didn't waste any assets on this. They're also not wasting a lot of effort on it. And the only one I think who's trying is her staff, which sucks for them because she's an incompetent. But she's been an incompetent for 3.5 years. So it's not new news. But yeah, I mean, she's just completely useless. And unfortunately, as we've said, people are still going to vote for her. Like, I can't. And I know, we've talked about this before. There's plenty of single issue voters out there. And I think that's, whether, your single issue is abortion, and you're pro choice, right? You're going to vote for her. If that's a hard line for you, if you're anti-gun, you're going to vote for her, right? If you're pro LGBTQ, you're going to vote for her, right? If you're a single issue voter on any of those three things, and that's all that matters to you, all of those people are voting for her.
Right. Right. And those are your most vocal ones. Those are the ones that, they won't shut up. They're on every single platform, every single post, every single video, everywhere, putting in their 2 cents because they're rabid. They're rabid about their single issue. And that is the most important thing in their universe, so they present. You're completely right on that. They are the actual diehards, which has nothing to do with her as a person, her as a candidate, just her as a vessel, essentially, for what they want. And the rest of them that are voting for her are not supporters. They're not fans of hers. They're never Trumpers.
Right.
That's all they are.
Yeah.
So those are your Harris voters, and none of them are actually for Harris herself. because as we know, as it's been shown time and again, not a single one of them can tell you any of her accomplishments, any of her qualities, any of her things. All they've got is, well, female black president, cool, yay.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
yeah. So it's going to play out. We've got, what did you say, 27 days left.
27 days.
We're going to see what it looks like. And I think we all. I'm not even going to speculate because who knows what's going to happen. And so as promised, we are going to change topics, but this has the potential. This has the potential to impact even the election.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing with this guy, his connections,
exactly.
His reach is as close as even Kamala. She's a fangirl of celebrities, of Hollywood. So that is her world. And of course, this skeezy, gross looking human being who is subhuman. And I said this to Clay before, and I just want to pat myself on the back for this. I have always thought that man had the deadest, coldest, sociopathic eyes I've ever seen, right up there with all of the rest of the, sociopaths out there. And, here we are. So we have, let me find it for you. We have kind of the rundown of this. So if you're not paying attention, and I know there's a lot of people, especially in the conservative lane, that just say, I don't want to know anything about these people, so I'm not following it. Maybe you don't even know who this guy is. He is a mega superstar in the music industry, particularly rap. I mean, he goes back as far as the give me the names again, Notorious B.I.G., Tupac Shakur, right? Back
into the mid to late 90s. He's been around for a long time. He's
been around for a long time.
Performer to producer, and has reach across Hollywood, not the music industry, but into movies and television and all of, and of course, as today goes into politics, he is connected to politicians, right?
Yes. He's got so many names in his catalog there. And let's, just for a name that everyone will recognize, J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez was a longtime girlfriend of his. So eyes are looking at her as well as many other people. So let me give you the very, very quick rundown as fast as I can do it. So Sean Diddy Combs, he's in custody after being arrested and indicted by federal authorities in New York. He's accused of operating an empire of sexual crimes dating back to at least 2008. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see what else. I'm reading this for you guys. So his longtime, I think, girlfriend came forward and accused him of beating her and of rape. And she's not the only one. There have been many, many allegations of this. It's so gross. It's so gross to even talk about. He is notorious for what they are calling freak-offs parties where, you can guess. You can guess, right? Everybody can kind of guess what that involves. There's a lot of disgusting things that have come out. You're welcome to go look it up. I'm not even gonna go there. And what else? Yes. And of course, one of the biggest names that people have been talking a lot about is Justin Bieber. And there's a lot of videos circulating, going back to and kind of revisiting that time frame when Bieber was just a kid, like 15, 16 years old, maybe even younger than that. And Sean Combs, Diddy. I'm going to call him Sean Combs because I just can't keep saying Diddy. I just can't. He, on the surface, what he made it look like, he was taking Justin Bieber under his wing, and mentoring him. And there's a lot of, they're not even just, I don't think there's allegations anymore, but we'll call them allegations of him abusing him, along with quite a few other young, impressionable minors. And this is really,
a lot of accusations of child sexual assault.
Yes.
And Bieber was a minor at the time.
Yes.
And, he was taking on that role of producer performer. Right. And, there are some film clips now that you look back at and you're like, ew. Combs being 10 years senior to Bieber and talking about the two of them wrestling, and some other things. And this is far reaching, but it's also, in a day and age where you're like, okay, well, celebrities are all weird and they're going to do their own thing and whatever. But this is, high level sex trafficking. Also, there's accusations of use of drugs in the sense of drugging victims unknowingly. Not somebody got, did a couple of lines of coke, willingly. This is like, supposedly they had gallons and gallons and gallons of baby oil that was spiked with a topical narcotic that would put you into an ecstasy-like state. So there's all kinds of horrible stuff. And this is another Epstein, right? Another Epstein island kind of situation that has long tentacles and is going to reach into the world of politics and into the world of business. There are names, and I'm, I'm just repeating what's out there. I'm not making accusations myself, but there are names like Bill Gates. There are names of politicians in there, right? I hate to say this, but President Obama has a relationship with a lot of people in the same circles as Sean Combs. So there's a lot of far-reaching potential for this thing,
right?
And we'll see what happens. But
and two, I don't want to say credit, I guess, to his evil intelligence. Diddy actually has videotapes.
Yep.
Like I think there was basically like a room full of videographic proof, to use as blackmail or as collateral should he go down. So he knew the potential. He knew the possibilities of, if anybody tried to take him down, that he planned on taking them all down with him. And, curiously, he's, of course, in protective custody on suicide watch. Very, very Epstein-like, right? Very echoey of that. And like you said, this is way further reaching. Anybody who's watched this or listened to it or caught it just in their peripheral and thought, ew, gross, just another Hollywood, or celebrity or, whatever, who cares? We probably should care, because this goes way beyond, like you said, way beyond a bunch of, filthy, slimy celebrities doing freaky, dirty things with each other. This involves minors, sex trafficking, flat out abuse, and a lot of high powered people. And notably, I think it was about, I don't know the names, but a half a dozen record top executives resigned effective immediately once he was taken into custody and arrested and all of that. So, timing is interesting. So there's a lot of people who are now really scared.
Yeah, I don't think, honestly, I don't think we're going to see anything major politically before the election.
Right.
But I think there is potential to see things major in the world of celebrity before the election.
Yeah.
And then conclusions will be drawn. Right. So I think as, this stuff starts to leak, people will connect some dots here and there, and will, assumptions will be made.
Right.
And it will be not good for some folks in the political arena. So we'll see what happens.
We will keep an eye on that. Clay, we got a couple minutes left. I want you to talk to me about this documentary.
Yeah. So it's a Tucker Carlson production. I'm a growing Tucker fan. I was not a Tucker fan for a long time, but I'm growing. I still have a hang up with his laugh. Just
that laugh is
but this documentary is called The Art of the Surge, and this is really about President Trump and everything from shortly before Butler and the assassination attempt. There's only 2 episodes out now, but they're going to continue to drop episodes weekly all the way up to the election. So there's 2 episodes out now, and it goes through Butler, right? It goes through the assassination attempt. And there is some film footage in here that you have not seen and will not see anywhere else. There's personal cell phone footage from the staff. There is personal cell phone footage from some of the people in the audience that day, interviews with people in the audience, interviews with the doctor who did, and really this is on site. Like the guy still got blood on him, who did CPR on the firefighter who was unfortunately killed. You get a glimpse into how involved President Trump is in the production value of everything he does, to the point where he's standing there, like he's getting ready to walk out into an arena full of people and the music's playing and he's talking to the sound guy going, okay, bring it down just a little bit. Okay.
Wow.
Like he's in it.
Yeah.
But the thing that struck me about Butler that I don't think any of us grasped until this is they show a really decent amount of film footage of people, and I mean a lot of people, pointing at the building, yelling to the police and saying, there's a guy up there. There's a guy. Look at him. He's up on the roof. There's a guy up there. Oh, and like people knew, people saw, people tried to alert. Yeah. Nobody panicked. And then shots are fired. And listen, there was whatever it was, 60,000 people out there.
Mm-hmm.
It is still amazing to me. And this is something I think everybody should keep in mind when they watch this. And I do encourage you to watch it. Nobody ran. Nobody.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
there was no stampede. There was no, chaos. There was no,
Right.
It was a very controlled, and some people will turn that into conspiracy theory.
Of
Some
course
people
they
turn
will.
it into whatever. I
Right.
will tell you that sampling of people, that wasn't just Butler, PA, right? That
Right.
was people from all over that region,
Right.
Pittsburgh, right into Ohio. There were people traveled all over the place to go to this thing. The fact that it all remained that calm, that nobody panicked, nobody freaked out, and nobody caused a stampede.
Right.
Those people are built different. And I
Yeah.
will tell you, that's the voting base for President Trump. I'm not
Yes.
saying it's everybody, and I'm not saying it's, but that is the base. They
Right.
are strong, people who are calm under pressure, who work, have lived hard lives and know and understand, the value of just remaining resilient in the middle of all of that. It was striking to me, I think, is the best word I can come up with. It just was amazing to watch all of that happen, and nobody freaked out. Nobody.
Yeah, because really the level of death and injury that could have happened and
10
has
times worse.
happened in many other circumstances,
Sure.
similar circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, what an important thing to point out, the toughness of that voter base, our voter base. Yeah. Wow.
But it's a Tucker Carlson. Again, I haven't seen him. I think he's just a producer on it, or it's just through his network. But it's 2 episodes are out now. I think there's another 3 or 4 leading up to the election, and it really is about President Trump and the comeback, from Butler on, and really the surge into the last days of the election. So
which of course he just revisited. And I think
it's pretty awesome.
Said something about like 100,000.
Oh, it's crazy. Did you see the pictures of the crowd?
Yeah, I saw those aerial footage of it. It's gets you right in the heart, man.
Yeah.
Oof,
but it was good. I'm gonna watch it until it's over with. And it's a great, if nothing else, for the film footage alone that you get from people's cell phones and stuff is pretty awesome. So it's a good peek into the campaign itself, but really about being in and around President Trump.
I love it. I look forward to watching it. I'm going to binge watch them. Oh my goodness. Well, my friends, we thank you for joining us as always. And again, just going to remind you, we record on Wednesday. You're watching on Thursday. If something happens, which it possibly could and probably could, between this moment and that moment, the reason why we're not talking about it is because we recorded. I'm a little testy about those comments.
I know.
A little testy. I'm a little spicy about them. And only because maybe it's a little bit at myself, because every other episode we always do mention that we're recording. And that one, and that's the one episode that we didn't throw that out there. At least I don't remember saying it. And of course, a couple people got, fired up about it and all mad. They had to go take their ball and go home because they were so mad. Yeah. But I'm happy for them that is the most frustrating thing to happen to them in life, I guess. I don't know. Anyhow, all right.
First world problems.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm done being spicy. Back to being sweet. We love you guys. We appreciate you joining us and participating in the show. We look forward to bringing you more stuff because there's always going to be more to talk about. Clay, anything you want to tell them before we say bye-bye?
Listen, folks in North Carolina and in the Carolinas recovering from Helene, hang tough. And the folks in Florida preparing for Milton, our thoughts and prayers are with you. I know that's kind of a cliche thing to say, but it's the best we can do right now for those of you that either had to or decided to stay. So good luck to you all and just be safe as best you can. And from me, as always, keep moving, keep shooting.
Combat veteran Terry Davis traded a life of adventure and violence for the quiet of the Midwest prairie. But when he catches wind of a potential terror threat to the country he swore to protect as a young man, his instincts make it impossible to stay on the sidelines. Dusting off his years of training and experience and his guns to protect himself, his loved ones, and his nation, the aging warrior winds up in Tampa, making friends and meeting enemies along the way. As the threat slowly takes shape and reveals itself, Terry relies on the smarts and skills that kept him alive through years of combat. Yet the threat is much bigger than he realized, and he's not sure who he can trust. The one thing he knows for sure is that if he wants to stay alive, he needs to keep moving, keep shooting.
Get ready for the much-anticipated return of Elsa Kurt's beloved series, Welcome to Chance, on October 24th, 2024. Set in coastal New England, this small-town saga captivates with its intricate tales of life and love. Follow the intertwined lives of 5 unique families as they navigate the complexities of their picturesque community. Experience the charm and drama of Chance, where every character has a story that tugs at your heart. Whether you're a returning fan or a newcomer, there's something for everyone to enjoy and connect with. Pre-order your copy now and immerse yourself in the enchanting world that Elsa Kurt masterfully brings to life. Don't miss the opportunity to fall in love all over again with the unforgettable stories of Welcome to Chance.